Okay, we're live and ready to go with the lunch and learn. So Katie, over to you.
Thanks, Ruth. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Katie. I'm a Senior Transformation Manager working in Leeds Integrated Care Board. I'm really pleased that so many of you could join us today. I'm guessing that people will be joining as we go along. So if you think you might have missed anything or you have any questions, please put them in the question and answer section and we will aim to answer those as we go along. So we've got Joe here joining us today. He'll be giving us a really interesting session on carers and young people with caring needs. And I'm hoping it'll provoke a lot of thought and questions from yourselves. And hopefully Joe will be able to answer those in terms of helping you support carers that you might be working with. Just to give a bit of context behind why we've developed this session today. So I've been working on a transformation project called Multiple Long-Term Conditions that was previously called Seismic. And as part of that was around delivering care for people differently who had 3 or more long-term conditions. So we knew that people with 3 or more long-term conditions use a disproportionate amount of healthcare services. And in that programme, we identified that we wanted to be delivering care around the person, supporting their care, social and psychological needs, and identified that within that we need to be delivering training that focuses on having better conversations, using a motivational interviewing approach, goal setting alongside patients, and shared decision making. So we wanted to identify whether there's any training gaps amongst staff who were delivering that training, that level of care. And I think one of the things we identified, which was very pleasing, was that most people were very well trained in terms of the better conversations, health coaching, etc. But some of the gaps in training or knowledge were perhaps around mental health support, and particularly around supporting younger carers, that many people were finding were supporting patients in their appointments with healthcare professionals, often in school time, etc. So this led to us reaching out to Carers Leeds to see if they could help us in delivering some training. And rather than just delivering the training to the 3 local care partnerships that we're working with, we thought we'd widen this out across the city. So hopefully the people that have joined us today will be able to benefit from that, and the recording will be available for people who couldn't join us to access the information. So I'm going to hand over to my co-host Ruth, who will also be helping with the quick Q&A at the end as well.
Yeah, fab. Thanks, Katie. So we are going to bring the slides on screen, bring Joe on screen for everyone, and Katie and I are going to leave you in the capable hands of Joe for the next 40 minutes or so, and then we'll have time for a Q&A at the end.
Thank you. So, yeah, my name's Jo Jenner. I work at Carers Leeds. I deliver carer awareness training to health professionals, whether that's in primary care, in community health, or the Leeds teaching hospitals, and also there's some wider parameters around there, such as social prescribing teams. So I do meet and work with lots of different people across the city. Are you all right to put the next couple of slides on, Ruth? Perfect. So what we're going to look at today is who carers are, what carers and young carers do, the impact of caring on life and health, what you can do to support carers and young carers in your role, what Carers Leeds and Family Action offer, and then we've got 10 minutes at the end for question and answers, Q&As. So I work for Carers Leeds. I usually co-deliver these sessions with my colleague over at Family Action, which is the service that supports young carers and their families in Leeds. Unfortunately, Lucy's unable to be here today because of holiday and term commitments, but I'm here and I'm well versed in Lucy's slides, so I hope I do them justice. So I'm going to try and handle both of them today the best that I can. So what we're all here to talk about, unpaid carers. That is the official definition of an unpaid carer. An unpaid carer is someone who provides help and support to a family member, friend or neighbour who couldn't manage without their help. This could be due to an illness, disability, mental health problems or substance misuse. Always put that at the start of any presentation I do, just so that, you know, we're very clear on who we're talking about. We're talking about unpaid carers, family carers, not paid care workers who do an amazing job, but you know, are very likely to have a contract for the hours that they work, know exactly what they're doing, and you know how many hours they're working, and of course get paid for what they do, which unpaid carers don't get paid for what they do. On the next slide is an alternative definition. So that's the definition I've just explained, but there's a little poem there that's widely used during Carers Week, which is in June every year. And I just think that speaks volumes. So I'll just give you a moment to just read that. And I do think that that paints more of a picture than the official definition ever could. So carers can be from any age, any background, could be somebody who doesn't think of themselves as a carer because for whatever reason, not everybody uses that word. So sometimes we like to use the word looks after someone, but don't recognise themselves as a carer because they recognise themselves as a mum, a dad, brother, sister, son or daughter, husband, wife, partner, auntie, uncle, grandparent, grandchild, neighbour or friend. You know, lots of people are caring. There's no such thing as a stereotypical carer. But hopefully we're going to look at some of the challenges and similarities that carers might be facing in the day-to-day life. So every situation's different, but carers are quite likely to be performing domestic tasks around the home, shopping, managing finances, cleaning, washing, ironing, all those things we do on a day-to-day basis to keep our homes running well. Some carers might be providing personal care and nursing tasks, giving medications, reminding to give medication, to take medications, changing dressings, helping with mobilities, dressing, washing, toileting. So just that next level of personal care. Providing emotional support, that is absolutely massive, and I think especially with young carers as well, which when we go to them slides we'll be doing a little bit of have a bit of a discussion about that, in particular if a person they care for has mental health problems or dementia, might be having to repeat themselves a lot or answer a lot of questions on repeat. Managing appointments, organising social activities for the person with care needs, you know, waiting for and organising transportation, dealing with emergencies, which, as we know, never happen at the best of times. They always take us that little bit unawares. Usually, in my case, on a working day when I've got lots planned in the diary and lots to do. So it's them things that we can't always plan for. So I've just got a little activity. It's nothing too bad. All I want you to do is imagine you're a carer. So I've got 3 scenarios there that you can have a little read through. You might also be a carer yourself. I am aware that there will be people, there'll be working carers on this call who are probably going to resonate with a lot of what we're talking about today. So you maybe think about your own situation or somebody in your life that you know who's a carer, and just take a moment to just have a little bit of a think about those scenarios and what that must look like. And then have a little think about what words are coming to your mind that you might use to describe the impact of providing that care, whether that's on your health, your relationships, your finances, work, social life. So I'll just keep quiet just for a moment, and if you want to bob some words in the chat that you think might describe, you know, maybe one word that is coming to mind, that would be great.
I've just popped a question in our Q&A, so feel free to comment on that as you're thinking about this.
Thank you. So does anyone want to start the ball rolling with any words they might think to describe the impact of providing that care?
So our attendees won't be able to contribute with their mics or cameras.
Sorry.
So if people want to just add to the question that's been put in the Q&A, I suppose my thoughts are just on the social life, this taking up so much time for people, increased stress perhaps, and then that impacting whatever health conditions they have, and then just the extra logistics it takes to plan everything, and the financial impact of that in terms of getting extra taxis or getting extra equipment at home, and that sort of thing. It just becomes a full-time job very quickly when you add it up in your mind.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share any words in the Q&A? I always find that stress is the first one that a lot of people thought that comes to mind.
So we've got exhausting from Anna, balancing from Baksh. Amy says tiring or restricted. Baksh says don't want to get it wrong. Catherine Joyce, stressful! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Charlotte says strain. And Aisling says feeling burnt out, less time for self-care and looking after your own self. Stress, may feel guilty for having multiple complex feelings around caring, draining. And BAFTA says emotionally draining. And the comments keep coming in actually. I can't keep up with it. So yeah, lots along those sorts of lines.
I can see that now. Worried about own health, failing as a carer, lack of time, everything, everything you need to do, and the cared for person takes the priority. Absolutely. Are you all right to move that slide on? So I'm sure we've got some of those words in this grid, but these are the ones that often come up. So a lot of quite negative words, so or words that sound stressful to me: stress, confusion, denial, isolation. It can be really socially isolating caring for somebody. Frustration, duty, fear, poverty, ill health, anger, exhaustion, guilt, grief, some really heavy words there. But it's not all doom and gloom. Carers Leeds, the organisation where I work, it's quite a joyful place to work, to be honest. And I know as well, when we talk about the role of young carers as well, there can be a lot of pride around caring. It can be really, really rewarding. Very fulfilling. The sense of duty can be a negative, but it also can be coming from a place of pride. It can give massive peace of mind. And of course, everything that we do comes from a place of love. So yeah, I know that a lot of them words really negative words get used, and I think they do paint quite a negative picture, but actually it all, mostly comes from a place of love. And I know that the carers that we support, it could be the overwhelm, but it could be that sense of duty. It could be the grief. It could be any one of these boxes that then might need support around. So it's really good that we recognise, we learn to recognise how carers are feeling. They've got all of this going on, but also that sense of worry for the person that they're caring for as well. So you get to move that slide on, Ruth. Thank you. So bearing all that in mind, there's about 61,500 carers in Leeds at the moment, but that number does move around a little. So there's about 24,000 moving in and out of caring every year. For myself, my mum's very independent lady. She, was enjoying holidays in Benidorm and the bingo and all the other stuff that some ladies of in the 70s are doing, but her health failed before COVID, and she learned she had throat cancer. And I'd never imagined myself as my mum's carer, but very quickly had to step in, during mum's treatment, take some carers leave from work to support her while she was having a radiotherapy. Ended up, it's amazing actually, because I got to spend some time with her, and I was really worried about how work would deal with the loss of time from work. But we have carers leave at Carers Leeds, and I realised it could be taken hourly rather than daily, because I didn't need 5 days off to spend with my mum. I needed a couple of hours a day for about 5 weeks while my mum was undergoing this treatment, and that meant that I could take her, transport her to hospital, pick her up again, rather than waiting in corridors for an ambulance and patient transport and relying on taxis that might not be there, but also hold her hand and support her when she wasn't feeling great after the treatment. And I could take a couple of days out of my day, going to work a little later, and it didn't affect my daily working life. It was very minimally affected, so I was really grateful for that. So I think that's an example of people moving in and out of caring. And of course, when she was better, and I didn't class myself as a carer anymore. It was quite a short term, just over a few months, but at a time when she really needed me. And that's what can creep up on people as a result of an accident, or a period of ill health, or it could be something that's longer term, such as a parent carer looking after a child with additional needs. About 1 in 10 people identify as a carer. The actual figure is more like 1 in 8, because there's always a couple of people who are not recognising at all that what they're doing is caring for somebody, and they're the people that we're trying to reach, the people who don't always recognise themselves as being a carer. Interestingly, 1 in 3 NHS employees are unpaid carers, which is actually a really, really high figure. That's higher than any other industry. And I think that just, there could be lots and lots of reasons for that, such as, lower paid jobs, flexibility in part-time hours, might be that it's maybe a female-dominated industry. But I think it's more likely that, when you care, you want to share that care. It does come from a place of love, and caring people care, and might naturally be drawn to the NHS as a place of work. So I just think that's an interesting statistic, really, much higher than any other industry. So you can change that slide, Ruth. Fantastic. Some more statistics, and again, I think they do paint a picture. So 76% of unpaid carers reported that caring had a negative impact on their mental health, 62 on their physical health, maybe shoulder injuries or back injuries or neck injuries as a result of pushing a heavy wheelchair, or maybe not knowing the correct way to lift and handle somebody who's heavier than them, not having the correct training in place to do that. 63% of unpaid carers reported having disturbed, disrupted or poor sleep always or frequently, and you just can't function, can you, when you're not sleeping. 65% reported always or frequently feeling stressed, overwhelmed or anxious, and these figures are much higher than in the general population. So we do know it's fact that caring is taking its toll on people's health, putting their own care needs second to the person that they're caring for, which is a very generous thing to do, but what we want to do is keep carers healthy, so that they can continue the caring role in a safe way and in a way that's not having too much of an impact, because that's the last thing we want. A quote there, we have an annual survey that we send out usually around Christmas time. A quote from a carer from our survey: "I've looked after my partner for 13 years through his mental health, and without any availability of help in his diagnosis and with too many closed doors, my own health has deteriorated." And that's what we find time and time again, that people are putting their own health needs last, which needs to change. So I'm going to talk to you now about Carers Leeds. So we've been around since 1996. So yeah, if you've done your maths right, we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. So we've got lots and lots of activities. So I will be encouraging you to look at our website anyway, but take a closer look at it and see, all the brilliant stuff we've got going on in the city throughout the year, because, it's not just a month celebration. We're going to be celebrating all year and really shouting from the rooftops that, we've been around for 30 years. So we're funded by, we're funded by the council, and we have a support line, carer support groups, one-to-one support and support available in the hospitals. And some of our services are universal, so that's open to all carers, and some are targeted at specific groups of carers. But basically anyone can be supported by us as long as they're a carer in Leeds, or looking after somebody who's a patient in Leeds, because we do understand that somebody might be up in Middlesbrough or Newcastle and the person that they look after is in Leeds, or the person that they're worried or have concerns about, or arrange their appointments and everything else. So distance caring, we can support those carers as well, because obviously we're best placed to talk about Leeds services. We work in partnership with others such as yourselves to deliver our service, so we really welcome you being here and listening to me today. Thank you. And obviously we try and influence you to act to benefit unpaid carers, in particular if you're working in health and social care. We also have fantastic worker, Jenny, who works with, she partners with different organisations in Leeds, so not just around third sector charities or organisations. She works with some of the big organisations such as British Gas and the hospitals and the universities, some really great companies, to let them know about Carers Leeds and let their HRs know about what they can be doing to better support the employees that they have who might be carers. So what we offer is, as I've mentioned, support to all unpaid carers, but our specialist teams involve support for bereaved carers, and that's up to 2 years after the death of the person that's being cared for. Carers of people with dementia and memory problems, no surprise, that's our largest team. We have support in the Leeds Teaching Hospital, so we have 3 workers across Leeds. Please feel free to contact me or look at the website for their contact details. So, if you have got any patients or people that you're working with who might be supporting somebody in a hospital, we have 3 fantastic workers who are available to give support actually in the hospitals, based on the Gledow wing at St James's, but cover the whole of Leeds. We have specialist support for adults with learning disabilities, carers of adults with mental health, physical health, parent carers and people affected by another person's drug or alcohol use or concerned others. And I think that last one sometimes gets a little bit missed or forgotten. People don't always, might always not always associate drug and alcohol with carers. So we have a team of support workers. We're quite a large organisation. I think we've got 52 employees at the last count. So lots of people readily available to help. We offer an initial assessment, so we offer information advice via our support line, where a call may be triaged. Obviously, our support team and advice workers will answer any questions on that support line there and then. If somebody wants an answer to something, hopefully they'll have the answer. But it may be if they're wanting some additional ongoing support, they would be referred into a specialist team where they would be offered up to 6 individual sessions with a specialist support worker, whether that be over the phone or online or out on a walk and talk. We offer one-to-one support, access to support groups, so where people feel a bit more comfortable with more people around, peer support, absolutely amazing groups. I think we've got about 20 groups at the moment, both online and in person, all over the city. We've got befriending projects. We've also got digital befriending as well. Lots of social activities, too many to mention in this call, but for example, trips to the festive markets. We sometimes have a trip to the seaside. We have smaller walk and talk and chat and support groups. So, lots going on for both men and women. We've got workshops for carers, so dementia awareness, power of attorney. We've also got lots of workshops and videos on our website as well. So whereas carers might be pushed for time, they can always listen to one of our videos in their own time on the website. We can offer advice about getting a break and respite and how to access that, help navigating the health and social care system. We offer a person-centred emotional and practical support, and we also signpost to other agencies, and digital support really taking off at the moment. We have a web chat as well, which isn't with an AI robot, it's actually with a support worker. So I know sometimes that can be a little bit off-putting, but I can assure you it is a person, usually Holly or Aidan at the other side of the line, ready to talk to a carer. Again, for working carers who might not have a lot of time to spare, that can be really useful. So some of the things that we can help with around health, the caring role, how they're managing at home, are there maybe any aids or adaptations that might help, how they feel about the caring role, are they happy, are there any feelings of guilt, is it actually time to give up that role and look for some alternative care. We offer carers assessments, volunteering opportunities, look at how a carer might be spending time are they getting time for themselves, and if not, is there anything we can do to make that better or easier. We offer lots of social connections. We have a benefits worker who can help with any carer related finances and benefits. We support working carers. We've got loads of education and training opportunities. And contingency planning, that last one is massive. That's a lot of the work that we do. Thinking about, if something were to happen to me, what would happen to the person that I'm caring for? So we're really massive advocates of planning ahead. So to access our service, we're based in Mabgate Mills, which is at the bottom of Leeds. If you've known about us before, we've been on the hedgerow for years, probably most of that 30 years that we've been around as an organisation. Moved over to Mabgate Mills last year. We've still got our support line, You can contact us by email. You can bob into Mabgate if you want to come and meet us and say hi. We've got a website with tons of information on. We offer home visits, telephone support. We have a bi-monthly newsletter as well, which we, advise carers as a bare minimum sign up for the newsletter. We do get a lot of people who say, "Oh no, I'm managing, I don't need any support." But if you sign up for the newsletter, then you know what we do, and you know if there's something that sparks your interest, or you want to join in, it's there. So as a bare minimum, really good to access the newsletter. To refer into our service, you can use our support line, or we've got an online referral form as well. You will be getting a copy of these slides, so don't worry about writing anything down. I should have said that right at the start, actually. I saved you a little bit of handache there. But we have an online referral form. If you click that on the slide, that should take you through to our professional referral form. There's also a whole page aimed at professionals as well on our website, where you can download posters, leaflets, other resources, resources in different community languages as well, which I think is really important, because I know communication and language can be a barrier to some people. But yeah, it's all there on our website. So just before we talk about young carers, and we're going to watch a little video, I'm just going to mention, I just slid this in here. It's the Carers Passport that's available, not just in Leeds hospitals, but it is a UK initiative, so it's available nationwide. Well, in England, yeah, I think it's nationwide. Don't quote me on that. Pretty sure it's UK wide. So the Carers Passport enables carers, once they've identified, let the ward know that they are a carer, they are entitled to a carer's passport, which gives them discounted parking at the hospital sites, refreshments from the tea trolley, discounts in the on-site food outlets at the hospitals, overnight stays where that's possible, flexible visiting hours, and most importantly, an opportunity to be involved with care planning. So it's not a case of, "Oh, I'm a carer, can I have a passport?" It would involve a whole conversation where there is a conversation sheet recorded, duplicated, triplicated, where there's an agreement put in place as to what the carer is going to be involved in and how much they're going to be involved. And I always say to colleagues working in hospitals, it might also be the first opportunity that a carer's had to take a bit of a break and have some respite. So actually a really good opportunity to stand back and let somebody else look after a person that they've been doing a fantastic job of looking after for so long, and taking a bit of a well-earned break for themselves. So yeah, there's a bit of a double-edged sword is the passport, but brilliant for involving carers. So I think we're going to play a video now and give my voice a break for just a few moments. It's only about 4.5 minutes long, but this is just before we move on to talk about young carers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to say, I know there's a bit of an issue with a few people joining the call straight away. So don't worry, it is recorded. You'll have access to it afterwards. And just a compliment to Jo, someone said, "Thank you so much for sharing your personal experience." So thanks,
thank
Jo.
you. That's kind.
And now we'll move into the video.
As a child, when I first started caring, I didn't even know I was caring. My mum would be like, "Oh, can you do the dishwasher, Gabby? Can you do the washing?" And I'd only be like 8 or 9 at the time. And then as I got older, these responsibilities were just completely natural to me.
It is surreal when I care for my mum instead of her taking care of me, because I definitely feel more like the parent some days.
People aren't educated on what a young carer is. I didn't really know the term myself. When you grow up as a young carer, it's normal for you, so you don't see it as a different thing.
Tasks I do as a young carer is just like, it's not always like full on all the time. It's more like I fill in for when my mum is poorly, which will be like cleaning, cooking, going to the shop to get things, helping with my brother who has autism and things like that.
I basically I help my mum with cares for her, and she has a tracheostomy, so I sometimes help by holding her trachea so my mum can tie it.
Well, sometimes I wash up, and sometimes I will make mummy cups of teas and coffees, and I give her hugs, and I help her do things or other things around the house.
I would forget people's birthdays, or when we were supposed to hang out, or I didn't have time to hang out with them.
I don't get to see my dad and my brother as much because of my responsibilities at home alongside work and college. For half an hour carers, this is a typical challenge that we have to face: dropping something that we like, not having time to hang out with our friends, and not having time to do a hobby.
I found often I drift off a lot and don't really pay attention, and then it affects grades in school.
It's quite difficult to keep my head, in the game, focused, because my body may be at school but my head's at home worrying about my mum.
Well, as a young carer, you always have worries no matter what. I mean, every human being has worries, but a young carer has extra worries that we can't take our mind off of.
The sacrifices I find myself making is not spending time outside with my friends. Even when I'm at school, I don't really see them as much because they're either having fun talking about their life, and I just find it hard to fit in.
I think it'd be a lot easier if everybody knew a little bit about what we do, and that it's a bigger thing than people think it is.
It's really nice when teachers say oh, hi Dan, how's your day, and how's your mum. It's just nice to know that there's someone there that knows what I'm going through.
It's been tough, but when we do get the time to spend as a family, it's really exciting and fun, and we love it.
I get to go out, there's all fun activities and days out. You get to meet new people.
For me personally, there is benefits to being a carer. I feel like I've matured a lot quicker than I probably would have, and it's given me a lot more responsibility in myself, and I'm a way more independent person now, and I really like that about myself.
Thought-provoking, isn't it?
Sarah is
it's a very emotional video, but again, if anyone's got any comments that they want to share with us, feel free to share in the chat. It's always interesting to hear what people think of that. So I'm going to talk about the Leeds Young Carers Support Service. So again, they're commissioned by Leeds City Council, the same as Carers Leeds, and aim to ensure that no child or young person's life is unnecessarily or inappropriately affected because they're providing care, and the cared for person has the right support in place. So they provide advice and guidance for young carers, their families and professionals. They also raise awareness, such as what I'm doing now. Me and Lucy deliver lots of sessions together to different organisations, but they also offer their own practice development opportunities as well. They are a We Are Young Carer Friendly Leeds programme and offer specialist support to young carers and their families. They have a voice and influence group, which is also involved in projects across Leeds and West Yorkshire to ensure young carers and their families are recognised, represented and supported. So that video that we've just shared with you was actually made by Leeds children, so as part of that voice and influence. So it's great to know that that's been locally produced by them, and it's just so professional, isn't it? So yeah, really, really emotive. So The We Are Young Carer Friendly Lead is a bespoke package of support and training, which assists a service setting to review their current young care identification and support mechanisms, and establish plans to improve outcomes for young carers. And that's some of what they do. They recommend that you do to reach that young carer friendly status. So it would be identify a designated lead for young carers, take part in the Leeds Young Carer Support Service practice development sessions, create an environment and a culture, so important, where young carers and their families are visible, identified, supported and signposted, and then receive that ongoing support from Leeds Young Carer Support Service through action plan reviews. You can find out more about that by going onto the website and, you know, speaking to them or signing up for that for the practice development sessions. So a very similar definition to the one I started my presentation with. So young carers are children under the age of 18 who take on physical, practical or emotional tasks at home because someone in their home, their family has an illness, disability, is living with a mental ill health condition or a difficulty linked to drug or alcohol misuse. The level of care they provide would usually be undertaken by an adult, and as a result, As a result, this is maybe having, I think that's worded wrong, as a result, maybe having a significant impact on their childhood. So I've just played you the video. There's also another couple of videos as well that you can click on there in your own time and have a little look and listen to. There's a graph here that illustrates, this isn't just in Leeds, I might add. This is based on all young carers and looking at, you know, what is happening, what are the duties that young carers are undertaking. So I won't go through all of them, but looking at the larger ones on the graph, so cleaning and washing, giving emotional support, shopping, going to doctors, hospital appointments, helping to take high medications. I think you'd agree that a lot of that can bear very, very heavy, and it's very, you know, it's high level responsibility for caring for children to be doing. But 10% of all pupils will be providing high or very high levels of care. And that equates to at least 2 young carers in every class, in every school, which is massive, isn't it? 1 in 5 secondary school children may be a young carer. And that's just such a shocking statistic, really, to hear. You know, when I heard that the first time, and when I first started working and learning about young carers, I thought that was a really, really high figure. So if we move on. So to refer into the young carer service, a child or young person must be providing inappropriate and or excessive care to an unwell adult within their home. I'm sure you'll agree with me on the chart on the previous page. They are all classed as inappropriate or excessive care. A service should identify and record a child or young person as a young carer if that is their professional opinion of the child's lived experience within their family, and that includes siblings, young carers, sibling young carers. Obviously, it's vital that all young carers are identified and recorded, regardless of whether they're working with Family Action or not. It's just good practice to do that. How you can help within health or the organisations that you're representing today. Identification is key. It sounds really, you know, simplistic, doesn't it? But it really is key. You know, as healthcare professionals, you might be the first point of contact for young carers, or if you're providing a service for families, you are going to be the first point of contact, and can obviously play a massive role in identifying them. You can refer, that's another way you can help, referring to the services, and also provide information about young carers' rights and entitlements, and offer guidance on how to access support. Healthcare teams can address the health and wellbeing needs of young carers themselves, so checking in with them, including mental health support and access to vaccinations and other health checks that may be appropriate. Advocacy, health professionals can advocate for young carers, ensuring that they themselves are not overburdened with care responsibilities and have access to the support that they need. If you'll agree with me that young caring can be hidden, there's lots of reasons for that. Unmet health needs of a cared for person, so they're providing care for someone whose health needs are not currently being met or fully met by services, so there's that gap that needs to be identified. Could be cultural, could be a culture and background. You might find that different cultures and backgrounds have different expectations of how much children help out at home. And I think the little girl illustrated that really well, didn't she, when she said, you know, she cares, but she feels it's benefited her because she feels more mature and independent as a result of caring. But, you know, we need to be checking in with carers, you know, that it is appropriate for them to be feeling that. There can be a lot of pressure and expectation on young carers to self-identify and speak out, but we have to be responsible to have that curiosity and ask questions and consider the needs of the whole family. There can be a lot of stigma around caring, a lot of worry, you know, that social services may be involved, or, you know, that they've been told to keep quiet about something. But I think it's just asking them extra questions, which, you know, we do have some tools to help with that. Agency and choice, aspirations can change rather than the environment. Young carers lower their aspirations both at school and at universities and colleges because they don't think their caring responsibilities will change. So the whole putting their lives on hold, not wanting to carry on with further education or not even aspiring to that because they feel like they've no choice and that they're going to have to be doing this for the rest of their lives, or the, you know, the rest of their young lives, which again, we don't want that. We want carers to, you know, young carers to follow their dreams, follow their hearts, and do, you know, what's best for them in the future. So parental consent, there can be challenges for some parents to accept that their child is a young carer, might because of stigma and shame around accepting health needs. I think in particular if that's around drug or alcohol as well, and accepting appropriate support from services. There might be concerns over social care involvement, changes to benefits, lack of knowledge over what that young carers do, the young carer does in the family. But the organisation offers a whole family approach, so they do look at the family network when they're doing their assessments and offering support and include everybody within that. So again, it's that professional curiosity and asking questions. Not a lot of children in particular identify as a carer, so it's asking the questions in the right way about asking what they do in a day rather than asking what the caring responsibilities might, you know, so thinking about what the day might look like from, you know, getting up on a morning to going to bed at night, you know, what is it that they're doing in that day. Lack of visibility, recognition, understanding of young carers. So all young people should be given the opportunity to speak out and be heard, identified and supported. That's in line with the Leeds practice model and Rethink formula that young carers have said there should be no wrong door for them and the families, and there is a no wrong door pathway, support pathway. So when carers have been identified, assessed and the family supported, Leeds is committed to adopting a whole system, whole council, whole family approach to providing support for young carers and their families. So we are going to show you the no wrong door pathway. I think that's coming up on one of the next slides. So yeah, once a child or young person under the age of 18 is identified with caring needs, so the no wrong door pathway will support you as practitioners to take action. It will explain when and how. So a young carer's needs assessment needs to be completed, and then work will be undertaken with the family to look at ways to reduce any caring tasks, so provide the right support to replace that child's tasks that they're doing at the moment, so that it's got the minimal impact. So this is the no wrong door pathway. I don't expect you to read that. Nobody expects anybody to read that, but it's there in your slide just to show how it works. So you can see that in more detail, you know, if you want to zoom in on that when you get your slides back, that's fine. And it is available online as well on the Family Action website. So yeah, nobody's expecting you to see what that is, but it just shows us an example what that looks like. So it's a whole pathway. Literally, as it sounds like, it is a pathway. So there is a day in the life of brief assessment tool which helps practitioners ask those questions and assess that level of care being provided by a child, and it's been designed to develop an understanding of a child's lived experiences, identify young carers and follow that no wrong door pathway. So you can click on either of those when you get your slides to find out more about that. So, well, that was like nearly bang on time for timing, 1:19. So we have got 10 minutes for Q&As.
Oh my goodness, Jo, well done for getting through all of those by yourself. So yes, everyone if you've got any questions or reflections that you want to share, please pop them in the Q&A section of the meeting, and we'll go through those. Just to give you all a couple of minutes to pop your questions down and hit enter, and also to give Jo a little break. I'm just going to pick out a couple of reflections from myself actually watching that.
Yeah, I must admit, I apologise if I'm just like reading Lucy's slides because I can't do it as well as Lucy. What I would recommend is, if you want to book Lucy at Family Action or one of the other members of staff to do a practice development session, she's amazing. She really knows the stuff about young carers inside and out. So, you know, it's just a bit of a whistle-stop tour, just so that we did include young carers, but also that you know what the next steps are. So yeah, hopefully that's
and I'm thinking
helpful.
That's going to be helpful for any organisation out there who wants to enhance their safeguarding practice, because some of this is safeguarding a child. And my word, that video was so well produced. It broke my heart. It really, I was feeling quite emotional after watching that. It's incredibly effective. The kids are amazing at articulating the impact it's having on their lives. What a fantastic video to have produced, and we'll make sure that's linked in the slides that we circulate as well. So yeah, pop your questions in the Q&A if you haven't done already. One thing that did stand out to me was on one slide around the different tasks, breaking down the different sorts of tasks that children do. One of them being translation, which I think does happen in health and social settings more commonly than perhaps it should. It might be around people feeling more comfortable with a family member translating for them rather than using a translation service. Sometimes translation services aren't always available. You're dialing a number, and sometimes, especially if it's a niche language, you're waiting for a long time, and just the impact that has on children. You know, it's a really common experience for people who don't speak English as a first language, or don't speak it fluently enough or confidently enough to have in health settings. So that really struck me as, when we're thinking about areas like Hare Hills, Chapeltown, other areas of the city where there's high lots of different languages there, the impact that would have. Yeah, that just really struck me in that moment.
And maybe having to take time off of out of educational settings to provide that translation as well. You know, if you're a family who doesn't trust anyone outside the family, but that's actually a huge burden on that young person as well, and to translate correctly, you know. And
We have a couple of questions, so we've done enough vamping, which is great. Amy asks, is Carers Leeds the right service for a carer to speak to for advice if they are struggling with care for an older adult that is refusing care from anyone else or formal services?
Absolutely. That's a really, probably one of the really common questions that our advice line would get asked about. So yeah, I'm not a support worker, so I can't answer that question, but the support team are amazing, and they come from all different backgrounds. We've got Eileen, who comes from Help the Aged. We've got staff who have worked in hospice settings, come from nursing backgrounds, and also a huge proportion of our members of staff are carers as well, in their own personal lives. I think it's 80% of our staff are carers, so there's a lot of experience. So yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. And I'm suppose even if it's that peer support element or the social element, even that can be a massive help, even if you're not able to take on some of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of those
And peer
tasks.
support and, joining, I run a women's support group in Beeston. And that peer support is, I can't answer some of the questions that get brought to the table, but everybody gathers around, and one of them will have experienced it, and the knowledge that they bring with them to the groups is amazing. So yeah, peer support is fantastic.
We have a great question here from Aisling. It's good to hear an actual case that you're working with, Aisling. So thanks for dropping this in. I have a patient who used to be a full-time carer for her son, but he has very severe support needs. So dad, the parents are divorced, has taken over caring support for now. So she is no longer classed officially as the carer, but still does a lot of caring and makes his meals, etc. Do you have any support for people in this adjustment period, going from caring, being their whole life, to adjust to no longer having that full-time caring role? Hope that makes sense. I think it makes perfect
it does make sense. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd agree, they're both still carers. If they're both still the parents, they're both still the carers. Whether they're in that setting, they're still carers, and that role can constantly change over who takes more responsibility than the other. But that's a common question, and also can be really common during bereavement as well, for the loss of somebody that you've been caring for a long time. It's almost as if that person just doesn't know what to do with the rest of their lives. So yeah, we can definitely help people come to terms with that as well.
Fantastic. And I think because you've got such a variety of support on offer, it's like someone's support needs might change throughout as their caring responsibilities change. So you've got quite a wealth of stuff that you can support them with as that changes for them. Fantastic. I think it's just having that conversation and making sure that person still understands that they have caring responsibilities, so it's still going to be having that impact. No other question. I can't see any other questions that have come in at the moment. If there are, great, thank you from Aisling. You're welcome. If anyone has further questions, you'll be sent Joe's contact details as well as Lucy's, who couldn't be here. So do feel free to get in touch. I hope today's helped everyone kind of have that curiosity to ask questions in a different way, maybe not asking people if they're a carer, asking what they do, that day in the life, and that pathway I think people might be studying after this, which is great. And please tell your teams, tell your colleagues, and as I understand it, Joe and Lucy, you can come as a double act and maybe deliver this training to teams.
We can come along to any team in Leeds. Fantastic. Just give us a shout. Either through our through the support line or contact us direct. We can definitely sort something out, whether it's a 10-minute quick talk in your team meeting or a 1.5, because these sessions are usually an hour and a half long, where we bring case studies and scenarios. So yeah, we can work to you whatever it is you want to do. And I'd also just say a quick reminder while we've got time, Carers Week coming up in June, middle of June, preparing for that as well, you know, thinking ahead. Now's the time to be, you know, thinking, are we going to put something on? How do we identify carers? Maybe we send out a text message asking, you know, if any of our patients are carers, or just offering that support. So I think it's a really good time of the year to start thinking about that. And again, if you want any support with that, please get in touch, you know, whether it's a little coffee morning or something you want a support worker to come along to and chat to the people that you're working for. We're more than happy to come along.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, thank you for your time today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much, Jo.
Thank you.